Mingus sat in front of the microphone and began to record a podcast. He didn't know what was to expect, but he sat there, continuing to speak and hoping that something else would happen in the meantime.
I don't even know where to go from that, so,
A voice spoke out from the other end of the microphone. The man on the other side appeared confused. Mingus responded, "Who are you?" There was silence on the other side as the other man contemplated his existence and wondered exactly what was going on and what bit or reference this was. Mingus did not respond.
Well, you've already thrown me a hard curveball and thrown me completely off track.
The voice on the other end said. He was lost in a cloud of darkness that confused him and continued to confuse his brain and make it so that he could not understand what exactly he was witnessing. Mingus snickered to himself, wondering how long he should keep this bit going.
Not much longer, probably. So
the voice said.
Is that a reference to something, or are you just, like, making this up as you go?
The voice wondered if he was making it up as he goed. That is not a word.
All right, let's get on track.
Hi.
Hi, welcome aboard.
How are you?
Are you talking to me or our listeners who can't respond?
I don't know. You feel free to respond.
I'm doing all right, you know. Life's marginally better than it could be.
I thought of that yesterday, and I was waiting until just now.
I feel like that's going to be a recurring thing now.
No, that's not. Don't worry. I thought of a different recurring thing. I'm not doing it this time. But anyways.
I guess let's get down to business. What are we talking about today?
Well, today, you know what? Oh yeah, wait, hold on. This is the second episode, but it's actually the first episode because there definitely wasn't a first episode before this, right?
Well, I mean, not one that you should listen to.
So welcome to what is definitely the very first episode of the Placeholder podcast, the podcast wherein we talk about whatever the hell we feel like.
Research is optional.
Yeah, well, no, you should always have good research.
Well, today then.
And that reminds me, the other thing that we have to bring up before we started, I've been informed that apparently there are other people on the internet that are also called the Placeholder Podcast, but
by that I mean there was like one, and it had one video, so I don't know if they're going to be much.
Well, here to anybody else, suck it. We have our title has brackets in it. That makes it different, and the other YouTube channel has no videos and like 2 subscribers, so I don't care.
I just wasn't even going to mention that, honestly.
I'm mentioning it because I felt like it.
All right. Yeah,
this is the real Placeholder Podcast.
In our defense, we came up with the name a long time ago before we ever knew it was already used.
It was originally going to be Placeholder Publishing, but that didn't happen.
I mean, it still could.
It probably won't.
Not with that attitude.
Well, I'm just looking at it logistically speaking. It doesn't make sense to... who knows? Self-publishing might be an option. Anyways, Scooby Doo. It's a franchise that's been around since 1969. It's been like 51 years.
It's still going strong.
No.
Well, okay, it's still going.
It's still going. Not all of it is strong.
And I meant strong as in it's not showing any signs of stopping anytime soon.
No.
But yeah, what do we got? Like, started with Scooby Doo, Where Are You?
Yeah, well, okay.
Spin-off shows.
Oh, no. We're not going to gloss over them.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought those might be a topic for another video.
No, I'm just saying, why gloss over them when we can list all of them in excruciating detail?
You have a list?
I might just know.
Okay.
It's entirely possible that I just know what all the shows are. You've got Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Then there was the new Scooby Doo movies. Then there was the Scooby Doo show, which is a different thing than Where Are You? It's labeled on the DVD as the 3rd season of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? But it's actually a different show. It's not the same thing. after the Scooby Doo movies, where they were, which by the way, that has a resurgence. Oh wait, that's later. Anyways, Scooby Doo show. Then there was the All Star Laugh Olympics, where Hanna-Barbera was like, let's just have all the characters compete in Olympics or something, and they did that. And then they introduced Scrappy Doo, and I don't care what anyone says, he's not a bad character. He saved the franchise. They need to stop shafting him in the newer stuff. So anyway, Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo. That happened. Then there was a bunch of shorts, and then this is the weird period of time when Fred, Velma, and Daphne just weren't in the show, and it was just Shaggy and Scooby. And then they had the new Scooby and Scrappy Doo show. When did they bring Daphne back? When does that start?
Sure
I think
13 Ghosts.
I don't. No. Okay. The new Scooby and Scrappy show. That's when they bring Daphne back, and then Fred and Velma are like guest characters, and then the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo, which also has Vincent Van Gogh in it, and then a pup named Scooby Doo.
Actually, we know best.
Where they're all children.
Well, you know this. Who's the best?
Yeah, Bernie
character?
Gumshoe.
Yeah, Bernie Gumshoe.
According to you,
He's amazing.
he's in the one episode.
And it's the best episode.
Is it of that show? Is that really the best
I'm
episode?
talking all of Scooby Doo. It's the best episode.
No,
It's amazing. It's like it's a Wonderful Life, time travel, weird mess with Bernie Gumshoe.
Yeah, but the villain is called Time Slime, and there's no reason that he's called Time Slime. That's just his name. He's a ghost, and the shtick is that he does time. He's a mad scientist with time travel. I don't understand the premise.
Oh, so
Anyways,
so you mean you're hung up on the slime part, not the time part?
why is they named him Time Slime because it rhymes, not because it makes sense.
You know what? I'm gonna look up what time slime looks like.
He looks like a ghoul with goggles and a staff and a robe. And then there was that weird period where he had
Gosh. Oh, because he looks kind of slimy. I
No, he
guess.
doesn't. It
mean,
rhymes. You know well that's the only reason.
Well, I know that's why. I mean, like, he looks slimy in the way, like, a used car salesman is slimy, not in the way that, like, you know, he's covered in slime. Anyways, that's whatever.
Anyways, there was a bunch of movies. The first one of those was Zombie Island. But in terms of shows, there was What's New Scooby-Doo, and then there was Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, which is the show that no one talks about, and rightly so. Then there was Mystery Incorporated, which is the best one, and Fight Me.
Well, no one will on that. I think that's just...
Some people will. At least one guy, I think, who was the guy? He said it was too depressing, and it's like, but it's the best one. It's the only one that actually holds up as its own thing. The other ones are fun, but like you can't watch them as a show. And then Be Cool, you can't. You don't ever just sit down and I'm like, I'm going to watch the entirety of What's New Scooby-Doo. You watch like a few episodes here and there and you pick randomly. Mystery Incorporated is the only one that actually watches as a show because it has a story. 13 Ghosts, kind of.
I mean, I liked 13 Ghosts quite a bit.
I liked 13 Ghosts until, that's later.
Yeah, that's...
Be Cool Scooby-Doo, which is the one that looks like Family Guy. I've seen a few episodes. It's actually pretty funny. It's just the art style is bad.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. I can imagine
And then we have
a lot of parents probably didn't let their kids watch that show just because it looks like Family Guy.
It uses that Family Guy art style. And then Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, which is basically them doing the new Scooby Doo movies again, but with modern guest stars. Actually, in some ways, I don't know who this is for because it has modern guest stars. But
Nice.
at the same time, it's like there's an episode. Okay, you have who's in this one? Let's see. Here's the guest stars. I'm gonna read the guest stars in order. Chris Paul, the Ghost of Abraham Lincoln, Wanda Sykes, Sherlock Holmes, Ricky Gervais, Wonder Woman, Penn and Teller, Steve Urkel. Who even knows who Steve Urkel is anymore? Jim Gaffigan, Weird Al Yankovic, Sia, whoever that is.
Jesus.
Sia is an Australian singer, song. Okay, sure. Keenan Thompson, Batman, Whoopi Goldberg, Mark Hamill, Flash, George Takei, Halsey. Who's Halsey? American singer and songwriter. What is with all these songwriters? Steve Buscemi.
That one would be good.
Jeff Dunham and Darcy Farmer, Maddie Ziegler, Jeff Foxworthy, Malcolm McDowell, the Hex Girls. That's not a guess. Those are just actual characters. Christian Slater.
Popular, though.
Yeah, but that's not a guest star. Those are just Scooby-Doo characters.
I mean, yeah, but sure that was fan service to bring them back.
They've been in more than they've been in more than 2 iterations. That officially graduates them to recurring status. Christian Slater, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Bill Nye. Funny enough, not even the first time, not even the only time that they've crossed over with Bill Nye. More on that later.
The other time was
Casey Musgraves, Morgan Freeman, Christian Shaw, Joey Chestnut, Giggy Hayded.
How many of these are there?
I'm almost done. Alton Brown, Tim Gunn. No, there's an even better one near the end. Chloe Kim, Tara Lipinski, Lalia Ali, Lisa Koshy. Do you know who any of these people are? Because I don't know who most of them are.
A handful of them.
Macklemore. Is that music?
Yeah,
that's music.
He's the thrift shop guy.
Oh, good, that guy. Sandy Duncan, Alex Trebek, Axl Rose. Wow, okay. He's still around. He's still doing things? Huh. I just thought he stopped. I don't know. It's the same thing. I thought Kiss stopped being a band, but apparently they're still a band and they're still doing things. I thought they stopped a long time ago. Jason Sudeikis. I probably pronounced that wrong.
Right, so
hold on. I'm writing it.
Okay.
Sean Austin. I'm almost done. Cher, Jessica Biel. Okay, see, Cher is another one of those characters. Cher is not relevant anymore. Why is it a guest star in Scooby-Doo? Well, who is the show for?
I mean, I imagine, like, the viewers of Scooby-Doo are probably like 50-50 adults and children. So it's like...
Well, yeah. Joseph Simmons, Billy D. Williams, Terry Bradshaw, Frank Welker, Greg Griffin, Matthew Lillard, and Kate Micucci.
So
Blue Falcon and Dynamite. Yeah. There's an episode where the characters meet the voice actors.
I mean, that actually pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, I don't know why that wasn't the last episode. It's actually like the 3rd to last episode. Blue Falcon and Dynamite for like the 4th time, I think. Carol Burnett. That's the last one. The last one is Carol Burnett.
All right. Well,
52 episodes.
Thrilling.
Where was I going with this?
I don't know.
Anyways, there's a lot of movies, and we're going to talk about 3 of them in particular, and also some other ones that we saw recently.
We're just going to talk about whatever comes up. But essentially, the point we're getting to is that as Scooby-Doo is now, they don't have any current shows going, do they?
Yeah, well, maybe. But I don't know. I think at the very least, Scooby-Doo and Guess Who has not been officially canceled, but I don't know if they're making any more episodes of it. There is going to be that Velma spinoff, which I'm sure will not be good.
Isn't that a live action thing too?
No, it's going to be animated.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of the movie. There was a lot.
No, it's just Velma. It will be adult oriented, and it'll be on HBO Max. So I already don't have hope for that. That's
interesting choice. Anyways, all this to say, now they've made a tradition of doing a yearly, like, new straight-to-DVD movie. And
we have a tradition of watching it.
Yeah, we have a tradition of watching them every year around Halloween. And, I don't even know where to go from there, because these are just confusing.
Well, I'll tell you where to go from there.
So let's see.
There's three in particular that will head off this discussion. It might go to other places, but the 3 that come to mind are Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost, Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island, and Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo, which form a nice little trilogy, but it's a bad trilogy.
Is it the Fred Loses the Mystery Machine trilogy?
Honestly, that's the most compelling. No, they just have it back in the 3rd movie. They make a big deal about it, and then he just has it.
Yeah, he loses it in the first one.
It's too soon.
Oh,
too soon.
Too soon, really?
We got to establish more context.
Okay, well, before we dive into the crap, how about we start on a good note and say, what's your favorite Scooby-Doo movie? Without thinking. You're thinking.
No, too late. I can't help.
All right, well, I'll go first.
Movie?
Yeah, your favorite Scooby-Doo movie. Because I know your favorite show.
I know which one yours is.
Well, yeah, you do. Of course you do.
You go first. I'll think about it.
Legend of the Phantasaur. It's dumbest name, but like, it's where Ultra Instinct Shaggy came from, and he's just as amazing in the movie as you can imagine.
Apparently, though, the movie's just like actually good.
Yeah, it's incredible. Apparently, there's some.
Well, I say apparently as if I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it multiple times. There's some weird thing where, like, the dumber the name for a Scooby-Doo movie, the better it's probably going to be. I mean, that's not always true.
Zombie Island. Is that a dumb name?
No, but I mean, that's kind of like a middle-of-the-road kind of name. But, like, Legend of the Phantasaur, that's a pretty dumb name. and a really good movie. But then you take something like, I don't know, Happy Halloween Scooby Doo, which is a pretty conventional name, and it's probably one of the worst things I've seen.
I still say the worst Scooby Doo movie. Well, I don't know if it's Scoob, but it's at the very least it's probably Return to Zombie Island.
Well, because that one not only is bad, but it like craps on one of the best Scooby Doo movies.
Yeah,
I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know. Okay, so I guess by default my favorite movie ends up being Zombie Island, but I have a really special place in my heart for the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, that's a good one too.
That I watched that one a lot. That was just the one we had.
Yeah, for us that was Zombie Island, and then we also had The Curse of the Vampire. Is that what it's called? Or Legend of the Vampire?
Where
it's the one with the Hex girls on the mountain. With the
that
vampire.
one is Legend. No, there's also Music of the Vampire, which is a musical and not related, and also not very good.
It was interesting.
Okay. See, okay, here's the first problem with the trilogy of movies. Scooby-Doo, as it stands, doesn't really have a very strong continuity. It's very loose. Roughly speaking, you can put all of the original shows in one continuity, and then the What's New show with all the movies in the same art style in another continuity, and then Mystery Incorporated is just kind of off on its own. And then all the movies after like 2010, the 2010 era movies all kind of fit into their own isolated continuity. They don't really have anything to do with each other. The problem with these trilogy of movies is that they tried to establish a continuity, and in doing so, completely mucked up the very little continuity that there already was.
Yeah, well, see, I think Scooby-Doo was a lot better when they didn't try to tie it all together, because it made them a lot less restrained. Like, you don't
need to tie it together.
Well, yeah, you don't. And it's like, you had Zombie Island in those movies when they were clearly adults, and that was great. They didn't have to now say, these characters are grown up and you'll never see them as kids again.
No.
It's just like, these ones are just adults.
Well, yeah, because those ones, that's what it is. It's like the original shows are all like one very loose continuity. Then The Pup Named Scooby-Doo is like a prequel to that era. And then Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, Alien Invaders, and Cyber Chase, those 4 movies are basically a sequel to the original era with them appearing as adults. But then, okay, here's so Curse of the 13th Ghost. It's a sequel to 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which never got a conclusion. They never caught the 13th ghost. But here's I don't know. Where should we start with this?
Well, I guess
the movie starts with them failing to catch a guy. They catch a guy, and it's like, oh, it's the wrong guy. And then a sheriff comes in and is like, you guys, you have to sell all your mystery stuff.
Oh, yeah, and that's how Fred loses the van, right?
Yeah, because he had to lose the van initially so that they could get the red van from 13 Ghosts.
Right. Yeah.
The red van.
So, I guess where it really, I guess the best place to start is with that whole continuity thing you were talking about, and just how clumsily they tried to pull it off in this movie. So they went as far as to say that, all that stuff happened in, all the previous movies and shows are now in the same continuity.
Well, no. That doesn't quite start until Return to Zombie Island.
Oh, right, because that's when they talk about... Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that one later.
They tried to basically say that, when all that happened in the original series, I don't know, they came up with some, really shoddy explanation for where Fred and Velma were.
They were just off at, summer camp or whatever, and it's like, okay, fine, I can buy it.
But the biggest issue is that, I would say almost the main thing about the original 13 Ghosts series was that the ghosts were real.
Oh, yeah, that's
indisputable that the ghosts were real.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones. Zombie Island is always the one that everyone thinks of, but it's no, they did real ghosts a few times before that. 13 Ghosts was one of the first times they did that, where it's hey, look, actual, real, definitely not fake supernatural things. 100%. There's not even any doubt.
Yeah, they weren't even ambiguous about it. It's here's the chest of demons, here's these ghosts coming out of it, you gotta go catch them.
Here's the sorcerer man played by Vincent Price.
Yeah, and here's an actual magic orb you can use to talk to him at any time. So it was very deliberate in saying there's magic and supernatural stuff exists in this universe. It didn't make a big deal of it. That's how it was. Well,
You know what the best ghost from 13 Ghosts was it's like she's so lame. It was the blonde supermodel ghost whose name I can't remember, whose power was that on a specific day at a specific time of night, she could enchant a warlock to do whatever she wants. And the only reason this is relevant is because Vincent Van Gogh is a warlock. And it's like, that is the most ridiculously specific power. There's no possible utility for that outside of this one very specific scenario that just happened to come up.
well, you know what? 13 Ghosts, it's fun. I love it, but you can.
And Scrappy's in it.
I will never say that it was well written.
Well, yeah, but I mean, let's be honest, is most Scooby-Doo well written?
I mean, some better than others.
Yeah, but like really, think about from that era. That is the era of low budget animation, just excuse plots all around. No character development.
Yeah, well,
It's
anyways,
not well written. It's just fun, but who cares?
yeah, well, it was all of that to say that, when they started
Real ghosts.
yeah, they started releasing these new movies and they tried to wrap it all into one big continuity. They decided that the rules for that continuity will be that there are no real ghosts. Everything has a real explanation. It's always
Not
a mask.
Yeah,
And so
not
they tried to
necessarily. Sorry.
Oh, they tried to just entirely retcon the original series to say that none of that was real supernatural stuff.
Well, okay, they didn't quite retcon it. They're not at the point where it's like Zombie Island, for example, explicitly supernatural stuff happens. And then the later movies have this pattern of like having a bunch of stuff that can be explained away, but then winking and nodding at you at the end of the movie that shows that, oh, at least one of the supernatural things is real. And the new movies have taken this they've taken this whole thing because they try to have it both ways where they can be like, see, maybe it wasn't real while trying to also be real, but it doesn't work when you're trying to do a sequel to. Sorry.
Oh no, no, yeah. So that's right. That's what they did. They weren't fully in, like they hadn't gone like.
They were trying to be ambiguous.
Yeah, they hadn't gone.
But it just comes across as Velma being like a super hardcore atheist, basically.
Yeah, flat Earth atheist isn't that the term you use?
That's my term. I use TV tropes. Go read TV tropes if you want to waste your life. You'll just be there for. No, it is. You'll just be there forever because it's that engaging.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
You'll be on one page, and then it'll have a bunch of links, and you'll be like, "Oh, I wonder what that is," and then eventually you'll have like 20 tabs open, and it'll be 5 hours later.
Well, I haven't gotten that into it, but it is a good website. Anyways, let's get back on track. So
no, there is no track. We talk about things.
Okay, well, let's get back to Scooby Doo at least.
Scooby Doo is okay.
So yeah, they tried to go middle of the road on that. They were super ambiguous about it. It's like, are there real ghosts? Are there not? Who knows? And then then next is Return to Zombie Island. I guess can we just go?
Wait, no. Hold on. I'm not done with 13 Ghosts yet. There's so many more problems I have with it. First problem. It hinges on the basically they catch the wrong guy and then a sheriff shows up. It's like, oh, sorry that you guys have to give up all your stuff. And it's like, okay, first of all, that's a weak premise. Why does he even have the authority? Second of all, despite the original show very prominently featuring Scrappy Doo, he's completely omitted from the movie because newer Warner executives just don't want to include him. By the way, I found out there's a new special they released this year apparently that's like a retrospective where the Scooby-Doo characters are actors and they're going over all their old stuff. At some point, they mentioned Scrappy Doo, and apparently everybody's like, more like Scrappy don't, and they groan his existence. And it's like, gosh dang it, can we stop crapping on Scrappy? He saved the franchise, literally. Read the story of how they created Scrappy. Some guy has a blog about it. I don't remember. It's the guy who made Scrappy. There's a blog. It's an interesting read. Anyways, he's not in the movie. Flim Flam's in the movie, though. Nobody likes Flim Flam.
Well,
but he's in the movie.
To ask about Scrappy, and they basically just tell him like,
no, he asked about Scrappy, and then Velma's like, "What's a Scrappy?" Right. And it's like, what? But
I think at this point, more than anything, it's just become a running joke that Scrappy is hated.
Yeah, well, no, because they've decided to lean into they're acknowledging, okay, people don't like Scrappy, so let's also not like Scrappy, and it's like, you're being stupid. There's nothing wrong with Scrappy as a character.
I mean, okay, to be fair, he can be kind of annoying, but I mean, that's kind of the point. I don't know. From what I hear, kids loved him at the time, and like you said, that's kind of like what saved this franchise.
It literally saved the franchise. It was going to die, and then they introduced Scrappy, and it actually worked. That's the whole reason why it's still going on. But okay, so the original show, 13 Ghosts, new movie. They get to the end of the movie, and it turns out they wrap it into to the standard Scooby Doo hoax, where the big demon ghost, the final one, turns out to actually be some dude in a costume, and then they're like, but what about all the other ghosts? Oh, well, that was clearly just hypoxia from the higher elevations in the Himalayas, and it's like they went all over the world though.
They literally went to like a different country
in every episode. It was a globe-trotting adventure as they tracked down all the ghosts. Yeah, and then but then they're like, well, is there really ghosts? Why don't you open the chest? And then she decides not to open the chest, and they have an ominous shot, and it's like, oh, maybe. But it's like, guys, if you're going to do a finale to the 13 Ghosts, can you at least just fully embrace the 13 Ghosts? Where are Bogle and Weird? They're not here. Where's the supernatural ghosts? Oh, well, they were hallucinations, I guess. At least, at the very least, as these movies have gone on, they've started moving away from Velma just being like just straight up in denial about supernatural. At first, it was like she says that there's no supernatural whatsoever, absolutely not, and you're supposed to agree with her. But then they start framing it as if she's crazy and basically just completely in denial because it starts getting more and more blatant. So, I mean, at least that's less annoying in the later movies than it is in the first couple of movies, but it's still there and it's still annoying.
Well, it's like then she usually ends up being right, though. Well, I mean, she always ends up being right, so that's what's weird. It's like she's supposed to be annoying, but she's also always right.
Well, not about the supernatural stuff, because like in the first one, they're like, yeah, she's probably right, and then as the movies go on, it starts portraying her as just being in denial, basically.
Yeah, but like I said, in the newer movies, it always ends up being like right.
Well, no, because like in the Sword and the Scoob, she eventually got to the point where she accepted it, and then even though it turned out to be fake, it turns out Merlin was real.
Yeah.
she's kind of basically at the point where it's not that she's right, but that she absolutely has to believe that she's right, or else she'll just have a nervous breakdown. So she denies anything that doesn't fit into her worldview. That's what she does now.
Yeah. Well,
I liked Mindy Cohn better.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can really blame the voice actress. I mean,
no, I can't blame the voice act. I'm just side point. I don't think it fits. I don't think Kate Micucci's voice fits as well. I preferred Mindy Cohn.
All right. Well, I mean, that's about all I can think to say about the 13th Ghost. Do you have anything else?
I don't know. We could go in it, but really we should just talk about the next one, because the next one is the worst movie yet created.
Yeah, and full disclosure, it's been a while since I've seen any of these, so my memory is not as good as yours.
Oh, don't worry. I can tell you all about it.
Which I think, honestly, probably works in our benefit, because it's a lot more entertaining just to hear you describe this stuff.
Oh, wait. That reminds me. I forgot. I cannot emphasize enough. Fred's primary character arc is trying to get the Mystery Machine back. Like, it's like... It's what they call it, a cargo ship. That describes this.
A cargo ship?
It's where it's a tongue-in-cheek term. You know how some people ship characters? Sometimes you ship characters with objects. That's what this is, basically.
Oh, I mean,
he is devoted to the Mystery Machine. It is his one and only. And like he like every movie he's like trying to get the Mystery Machine back. They have the red van in the first movie, and then the second part of this unholy trilogy, they have like a monster truck and a fake Mystery Machine for a lot of it. Anyways,
yeah, and then
you want to start by you introduce Return to Zombie Island.
All right, so they took one of the most beloved Scooby Doo movies ever, Zombie Island,
yeah,
and then they just said Nah, we're good. We don't need that.
Yeah.
And they said... so
the problem's in the name.
Yeah, so Return to Zombie... Yeah, the first one was perfect. You didn't need a sequel. But they took their retconning gun, or whatever they used to retcon, and they just set it to full auto and let it go.
It's not good.
It's awful. So
it's a bad movie.
They retconned everything. First of all, apparently they weren't fully grown adults in the original that went on to have adult jobs and had become, apart from each other. They were just on some weird like summer vacation.
Yeah.
Each were working summer jobs.
Yeah, you remember how Shaggy and Scooby worked in the TSA and Velma opened her own bookstore and Daphne had her own talk show with Fred as the cameraman? Well, now apparently Daphne was just doing a summer internship or something, and they don't even mention the other jobs.
Yeah, because the other ones are way too hard to write off.
Well, because the only one that needed to be in the plot was explaining why were they investigating this? Because originally it's her news show; she was investigating news.
Right.
But in this, see, this is what I mean by the very little continuity that they had, and now they're trying to. So now apparently I'm to believe that the 13 ghosts, which that happened before then they were adults, and then they were adults, but then they weren't actually adults, and now this sequel happens right after Curse of the 13 Ghosts, which apparently happens long after the fact, except not. So I guess 13 Ghosts is acting like that the other 13 Ghosts didn't happen 30 years ago and that happened sometime in between. And it's like, gosh, you had so little continuity. How did you screw this up?
That's the thing is like
What happened to Bo, the guy that Velma was in love with, the undercover cop? He's not mentioned. Yeah, his name was Bo. He's voiced by Cam Clark.
Yeah, no. What about what was Mark Hamill's character's name?
Mark Hamill voiced Scrag.
Scrag.
I don't remember if his. I don't think
Hunter guy, but I'm pretty sure he died in the first one. So I mean,
no, he didn't die.
I don't remember what they did to him, honestly.
He lived. He just lived.
He turned out to be one of the werewolf cat people.
No, he was a red herring.
Oh right, no, I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of the other dude who was on the ferry and was voiced by Jim Cummings.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, he.
Hold on, I'm gonna.
Werewolf cat.
Yeah, that him and the other ladies, they were all werewolf cats. Hold on, I'm gonna go find out what the guy's name is.
All right, well, while you do that, I'm going to continue my explanation of this.
Yeah, you keep
fire. So
you keep going.
Okay, yeah, here's another. I mean, I don't know.
What's this guy's name?
I don't know if you can call this nitpicking or not, but it's like,
no,
even like, just the amount of time they're trying to suggest, like by having this single continuity, the amount of time they're trying to say has passed between these, they should not still be teenagers.
Yeah,
it doesn't even work in their timeline, and not to mention that in the original, they really clearly were drawn as adults.
Well, if the whole having their own jobs and it being several years later thing wasn't a tip off.
At this point, that's kind of just a nitpick because
it's not a nitpick. It's like you're just blatantly ignoring the other movie.
No, I mean saying that they didn't look like teenagers in the original, and that's a nitpick at this point because all the other issues are way more egregious. So yeah, that's the first place where they just ruined it with the retcon. And then I don't know, the other one that's arguably worse is they're trying to say, they're trying to go with the whole no supernatural stuff whatsoever, and all the zombies were just people in costumes.
No, that's just Velma being in denial. I think they might have soft pedaled it. Hold on, what is I gotta find this guy's name.
Like Scar or something?
No, that's the pirate. Morgan
Moon.
Oh, here it is. His name is Snakebite Scruggs. Okay, so I was close.
Pretty close, actually.
I was close. I knew it was. All right, we're back. Welcome to part 2. Apparently, these might be spliced together, though.
I wasn't gonna acknowledge it, but yeah, technically.
I am acknowledging it. Full transparency. The video stopped being a thing, and now we lost like 2 minutes of gold.
I'm sure we're better off for it. I think we were just rambling at that point. Anyways.
Okay. So
we were getting into why they went back to Zombie Island.
The sequel. Velma's like, this is an unsolved case. And it's like, what? No, it's not. That was a solved case. And she's like, no, there was no supernatural things. And obviously, if we come to the conclusion that there were supernatural things, then that must be wrong. And then they get like an invite.
It's not compatible with my worldview. Therefore, it must be wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. No, that's basically Velma's character in these most recent movies.
I mean, it's exactly what the character is.
That's all she does. She just complains about anything being supernatural, and then if there isn't a logical explanation, she starts having a nervous breakdown. Hold on. So I think they get a ticket. Okay, that's the part I can't remember, is why did they get a ticket to go back to the island? Let's see. Okay.
Oh, it's because some guy was making a movie and wanted in it for
he can't get the mystery machine. And then the incident with the farmer. Oh, right. I forgot about the most annoying subplot in the movie. So right early on in the movie, oh, wait. Okay, yeah. So I remember now. they got the rights to Elvira, so they give her more to do in the Happy Halloween movie. But for this movie, when they finally have the rights to be like, hey, we can finally do Scooby Doo and Elvira, she basically has a cameo at the very beginning of the movie. And so they announced that apparently they won a trip to a tropical island, and Shaggy did, and they're allowed to bring the gang. So they're like, oh, this will be fun. And then it starts the most annoying subplot in the movie, wherein Shaggy and Scooby are like, you have to promise that there won't be any mystery solving for this whole movie. And all this does is ensure that the movie can't actually start until like 30 minutes in. They keep this going. Like, they have these really obvious, blatant clues of like spooky happenings. And then they're like, oh, what's that? And then Shaggy always comes in and is like, oh, no more mysteries, man. And it's like, God, stop. Can we just start the plot, please?
Oh, yeah, also,
I just want something to happen.
Sorry.
Anyways.
Quick tangent here. So I pulled up the...
Oh, that wasn't the tangent?
Oh, okay, another tangent from your tangent. I pulled up the summary just so I can refresh my memory. And quick just thing. Apparently the movie opens with them catching a werewolf. And do you remember what the name of the werewolf, like the guy in the costume was?
Farmer Brown.
Young Man Withers.
Oh.
Oh,
man.
Also, we totally failed to mention something in the last movie that I think is going to come back.
Was it relevant?
The sheriff.
No, I mentioned it. Don't spoil it.
Wait, what did you say about him again?
I mentioned that he existed.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Well,
that's all that's relevant.
Too. Yeah. Well, he's in this one too.
Yeah. The sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff is the reason they lost their mystery solving.
Yeah, he caught them after they caught the wrong guy, and he's like, "You guys did crimes now. You got to sell all your stuff."
All that to say, just
I think he shows up again in this movie, and then he helps them out. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, the sheriff, he's a good guy now, and then he helps them or something. I don't remember.
He's kind of like
we'll get there.
He's one of the only other things actually tying this unholy trilogy together.
Basically, the only thing that definitively tie these three movies together is that the sheriff is a recurring character, and Fred is his quest to get the Mystery Machine back. Those are the main things tying these all together.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, as you were saying, yeah, so
okay.
They decided to have a vacation, see a TV show with Elvira.
Yeah, they got that.
Shaggy won the tropical vacation. So
yeah, because of course he
did.
Yeah, anyways, they go to the island, and then they're like, oh, this island looks familiar, and then they're like, oh, this is the zombie island, and then they meet some people at the beginning who are like, you gotta leave, and then they're like, oh my gosh, but basically, immediately, the audience realizes, oh, this is Zombie Island, because, it's what the movie's called, but it takes the characters a while to figure it out, and then they meet the manager.
Sorry, another tangent. So
yeah, go.
They brought in, do you remember the characters in this one? Do you remember any of their names? Like,
I remember that there was a guy called Alan Smithy because they thought it was a hilarious joke.
Yeah, well, there's Mona Linda Jack and Bug Bite Stubbs.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the characters who were just like, look, it looks like the characters in the other movie.
Yeah, what's even the point?
I don't know. There is no point to this movie.
I don't know.
It takes 20 minutes for the movie to start because they keep getting all these clues, and then they're like, Shaggy's like, oh, you can't solve mysteries, man. Hey, by the way, have you ever noticed that whenever people do an impression of Shaggy, they always do the Scott Innes one? Have you noticed that?
The one where he like has the random voice, like high notes.
Yeah, like they always like they always start like this, and then they keep moving it into a voice break.
Yeah, that's
like it's always that one. Every Shaggy impression is always that one. And it's like Scott Innes is not even the best Shaggy. Honestly, I'm kind of split between Casey Kasem or the current voice Matthew Lillard. Who do you like better?
I like Matthew Lillard, honestly, just because he actually looks like Shaggy and played him in the live-action movies, which I feel like that's another thing when you talk about it at some point, because those live-action movies, apparently pretty hated, at least the first one.
I don't think I hate them as much as I'm supposed to.
I actually okay, it's been a while since I've seen the first one, but the second one I actually really like. At least as a kid, I did. So maybe I need to rewatch it before I actually conclusively say how I feel.
Well, the first one definitely is like it's a little more generic. It has the Scooby characters, but it doesn't quite feel like Scooby Doo. It's because it was a parody first, and then they were like, let's just make it an actual movie.
Well, yes, it was supposed to be an R-rated like Scooby Doo parody.
Yeah, and an R-rated adult comedy.
Yeah, but then Warner Bros. Basically came in like mid-production and completely like neutered the project because they said they needed it to be family friendly and marketable. So they even went as far as to like CGI like some of the female characters to cover more of their cleavage. Like they went that far with it.
Oh, no. All I can say is that knowing that this movie was supposed to be an adult comedy explains a lot of
It
things.
does. Like the entire tone of this, it feels like any minute, like I don't know, any minute something, like I don't know, horrible.
Well, I mean, we still ultimately we still got a joke of Fred when they had switched bodies, and then Fred in Daphne body's like, "Hey, I can look at myself naked."
Yeah,
that joke is still in there.
Yeah, I can't even believe that. That line, I mean, I watched that movie as a kid.
Uh-huh.
That line just always bothered me, and I was never even really sure why, because I was like, I don't know, I was probably like 8, didn't even understand what he was trying to infer there.
I knew what I don't know. I just
like, why would he want to do that?
honestly, I'm bothered more now than I was when I was a kid, but only because it's out of character for Fred to say something like that. Like that is not something that Fred would do.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been kind of like a ladies' man, but never like a womanizer.
I prefer his old characterization was that he's the straight-laced leader, which unfortunately is a character position that doesn't leave you to have a lot of quirks because you have to have a straight man. And it's like, there are ways to do the straight man where it's still funny. Like, that's the reason why Mark Brandanowitz sucks in Parks and Rec, but Ben is his name. Ben is much better because he's a straight man, but they actually gave him personality. Anyways, Fred in the newer stuff, he's a lot more of like a little like weird. It's much better characterization. Did the recording stop again?
Nope. I just
trying to
get my
okay.
thoughts back together. How do we get back?
Fred Jones, ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't have a catchphrase, but now he does. He says, "Hold the phone" when things happen.
Yeah, as of what, the newest movie?
I don't know. They started it, I think, in Mr. Incorporated.
I don't know. It wasn't.
I know he said it I won't spoil it. At the very end of the show, there's a moment where like all the characters say their catchphrases. I'm pretty sure he says it there.
It's not really a spoiler.
No, I'm keeping it intentionally vague because I don't want to spoil that show because it's amazing.
I mean, okay. Anyways,
yeah. They're on the island, and then they're like, you can't solve mysteries, and then they meet the manager whose name is Alan Smithy, which, by the way, that name is relevant. They think they were being clever, but they're not. And then they finally get attacked by zombies, and then they're like, all right, we can solve mysteries now. And it's like, okay, we're already like 30 minutes into the movie. Nothing has actually happened yet. And so Velma finds out that we actually are on the zombie island. It's Moonscar Island, guys, and that the zombies are all actors, and that it turns out Alan Smithy is actually a film director because, Alan Smithy's the film pseudonym name thing. And then he's like, I'm filming a movie. You should, guys. We're gonna recreate the zombie things. And then they're like, oh, all right, let's just keep making the movie then. And then they get the monster truck mystery machine, but it's not the real mystery machine. And then the movie continues in this vein for like 20 more minutes. They're basically just, so the mystery, as it were, it was a very lame mystery. It's been solved, but there's still like 40 minutes of this movie left. So now for the next 20 minutes or so, we just kind of middle about actually not even doing anything. And then there's some cat demons start showing up because, the first movie had cat creatures, so we have to do it again. And then they finally show up when there's only like 20 minutes left to go. And then I cannot emphasize enough how little actually happens in this movie. There are long periods of time of just nothing of substance happening. It's so boring. It is so boring, and it's ruining the other movie. And it's like, why'd you have to make this?
So yeah, I guess all this to say.
Sorry, should I keep going, or do you want to start now?
I mean, it's amazing how little of this movie I actually remember, but it's just because, like you said, almost nothing happens. There's really nothing to remember. It's like, yeah, and I think I actually remember the entire plot. I just don't remember all the filler that they throw in.
There's so much of it. Here's your favorite movie might be Phanosaur, but Phanosaur is one of the early practitioners of a practice which is getting really tiresome in current movies, where they try to do like this double mystery thing, where they have a first mystery that gets solved like halfway through the movie, and then it turns out there was a second mystery. Phanosaur is one of the early ones to do that, but they keep doing it badly. They keep doing it badly in all these newer movies. Ugh.
It's always like, oh, well, there's... you caught this guy, but now look, how are you going to explain this one? I guess maybe we should give an example. Do you want to talk about what happens in Phantasor?
You might. I think you've seen it more recently than I do. You talk about it.
Yeah, I watched it a couple weeks ago. So yeah, basically, the whole mystery is, this dinosaur keeps showing up, wreaking havoc on things, and then it
Phantom dinosaur
always disappears. Yeah, it's like a ghost. It's all glowy, but it still looks like a physical dinosaur. And it always shows up, wreaks havoc, and they basically end up finding out that it was, which one? It was like, ended up being like a robot, essentially, was how they did it. That I think it was like a government thing. I don't even remember. The two guys in the suits in a van, they were the ones that made that Phantasor. They were using it to scare people away. That's getting into the weeds. Anyways, wow, I suck at this.
You could just pull up the Wikipedia page if you really need it.
So, anyways, all that to say, once they solve that, they figure out what was going on there, and then another Phantasor shows up. This one's like big and like looks like an actual ghost. Is like phasing through walls and stuff, breathing fire, destroying everything. So then you got to figure out, where's this one? Well, it turns out it was the archaeologist.
It was the scientist guy, right?
Yeah, it was the archaeologists. They were using it to scare people away so they could get to the dinosaur frozen in the crystal down in the cave.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I felt like that was a double twist that was actually done pretty well. Like, they wrap up the first one, then, like, they up the stakes for the second one, where it's like, this one's a lot harder to explain away, but they still explain it away and kind of cheat at how they do it. But
Well, no, because that was coming out in the time period where they were just like firmly doing Scooby Doo hoaxes. They weren't like, it's not like when you're making sequels to the properties that explicitly had supernatural stuff. So it's like, come on, just lean into the supernatural stuff. If you didn't want to do supernatural stuff, you shouldn't have made a sequel to the only things that had supernatural stuff.
yeah, exactly. It's like Phantasor, obviously they were going the route of there was nothing supernatural, but they weren't trying
traditional
to tread
Scooby-Doo
on anything that actually happened in the past.
No.
So that's why.
Though apparently canonically Shaggy could totally defeat everybody.
No, because he remembers. Oh yeah, I guess. Well,
No, remember the power was in him all along. He did the hypnosis just unlocked it.
Yeah, well, they removed the hypnosis at the end. Oh, do you remember how that movie ends though?
I don't.
It was like
I don't remember this movie nearly as well as you do.
So it ends with. It's honestly like terrifying in my opinion. So.
Does somebody get hypnotized forever?
So basically, the hippie guy that hypnotized Shaggy to turn him into Ultra Instinct Shaggy, Shaggy tells him he wants to undo the hypnosis, so he puts him back into the machine and puts him through this hypnosis process where he says, "You are Shaggy Rogers, you are only Shaggy Rogers, and nothing else, blah, blah, blah." Well, then it turns out the rest of the gang was in there too. So the movie ends with them all driving away in the mystery machine, dressed as Shaggy and talking like Shaggy. And that's just how it ends. They drive off into the sunset. All of them think they're Shaggy, and they're actually trying to figure out which one is the real Shaggy. It's like, if you're Shaggy, then who am I? Or like,
wouldn't the real Shaggy just obviously know that there weren't more Shaggys? Why would it be confusing?
Well, because
he was already Shaggy.
I don't know. In the way they present.
Yeah, but he's just getting turned back to normal. They're the ones who think they're Shaggy.
Well, I guess in the context of this universe, they all equally believe they're Shaggy. And I guess have all the memories that come with being Shaggy. I don't know. It feels almost like the setup for some kind of sci-fi horror movie where a bunch of people all believe they're the same person.
The Ray gun. One blast from that turned half the town into a guy named Ray.
Anyways. So yeah.
That's a Tick reference for all you people out there. For all two of you who are now listening to this.
Yeah.
We've gained at least one person since the last person.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I'm just going to assume that at least two people have found this by accident.
Well, we know two people, so we could probably just...
Do we count? We're two people.
Well, I don't know. I'm probably not going to watch our own videos necessarily.
You can't watch, you listen to it.
Right.
Anyways, I should finish this. So now there's cat demons, and then they have to, but he's like, oh, we got to finish the movie. So then he gets the monster machine truck, and it's cool. And then it turns out that, surprise, surprise, the cat creatures are actually in disguise. They end up in that room with the moon dial, and then it's like, oh, we were just trying to get the treasure. but then it turns out that one of the cat creatures was actually real, and so there's like the shot at the end of the movie, and then Velma, who's like, no, they were always fake. The zombies must have been swamp gas hallucinations. And then Fred and Daphne are like, what? We decapitated a zombie. And then they're like, whatever, just let Velma do her thing.
We literally watched them all like turn to skeletons by the power of moon magic.
So basically, in this movie, this is the movie where they start backpedaling it a bit. So Velma's like, it must have been swamp gas. And everyone else is like, swamp gas? What are you on? And then like the sheriff shows up and he's like, well, you guys solving mysteries again? And then he's like, all right, fine. You guys can solve mysteries again. And then Happy Halloween Scooby Doo happens. If you thought that Return didn't have a plot, Happy Halloween has even less of a plot. So now the movies start. It starts with them. Okay, I should say this. This is a movie that features the Scooby Doo cast, Scarecrow from Batman, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and also Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's also here for some reason.
Yeah, here. Do you want to do it where I do the introduction again and then you get into the more details?
I don't know, maybe. Wait, did they have the real Mystery Machine in this movie, or did it get blown up and they had to use a science car?
Well, I know they had the science car, but I don't remember. I think because it started off with. Here we go. Here's the synopsis. A party float crashes into the Mystery Machine, throwing it into the air. The Mystery Machine crashes on the ground, smashed. Oh, right. It's like, I think it's getting repaired like throughout the movie. So Bill Nye gives them the science wagon for the duration of the movie. I don't remember what.
Why is Bill Nye in the movie is the better question.
That is a good question. But
okay, but anyways, his main character arc was getting the Mystery Machine back, and then he just inexplicably has it back, but then it gets destroyed anyways.
Yeah. Well, he just had it back too. They didn't even explain it.
Yeah, it was like his character arc for 2 movies, and then it's just like, here we go.
I don't know. I don't know.
Anyways, do your thing. Are we still recording?
Yes. Sorry. I had a text message. I got distracted.
I know. I'm just making sure I don't want to lose it.
Oh yeah. No, I'll tell you if something happens. So basically, this movie take Mad Max, Elvira, a little bit of Batman, and
but only the Scarecrow.
But yeah, that's why I said a little bit of Batman. Throw it all in a blender, and then set that blender on fire. That's how this movie goes. So I don't even know how to begin with this one. It starts with some kind of parade. There's parade floats and stuff, and those end up being significant because it turns into a big car chase with all these funny looking cars. And then,
this is when they start doing that thing where like now they solve. Now the Scooby Doo movies, they keep starting with them solving a mystery in the cold opening. Like the first 2 minutes are the very end of a mystery. And then they move, and then there's not really a real mystery for the rest of the movie. They basically they beat the Scarecrow at the very beginning of the movie, and then they arrest him, and then evil pumpkins show up.
Honestly, I think the most confusing part of this movie, though, is just like the fact that Scarecrow's there. Because
I mean, yeah. They did cross over with Batman at least one other time, but it was the brave and the bold Batman. This appears to be a completely unique iteration of Scarecrow, which suggests that they just casually live in the same universe as Batman.
Well, no, it's more
but not the same time as the last time.
Well, no, it's more like they live in a universe where Scarecrow exists, and he is like the same Scarecrow from Batman. He has like the same name, which for some reason I'm struggling to remember right now.
Jonathan Crane.
Right, that's it. Jonathan Crane. So he's in this.
Yeah, Mr. I've only read Gotham and Gaslight.
Yeah, that's
Gotham by Gaslight.
It's a good comic, but yeah.
And its sequel.
That's one of my.
You've read its sequel.
Yeah, well, because I have them both in one book.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, they got Scarecrow. They name drop the city of Gotham. They name drop Gotham or Arkham Asylum, and say that Scarecrow escaped from Arkham Asylum. But there's no sign of like anything else from that universe. So it's almost like we're in some weird like parallel universe crossover thing where it's like a little bit of Batman's here, but like Batman.
Well,
isn't.
I just like the idea that because of this weird stitched together continuity, Which, by the way, this third movie is where they stop trying to stitch together the continuity, and then by the next movie, they just kind of go back to being like standalone adventures. But the damage has already been done because these have already established that this is all in a one weird continuity. I just like the idea that apparently all this time that Scooby-Doo was going off, Batman existed at the same time in a different part of the world, doing Batman things. Did the death of Superman also occur in this universe?
I don't know.
Was that a big news event? Because, I mean, if Batman exists, that suggests the rest of the DC universe exists.
Yeah, I don't know. This is frying my brain. Also, there's like a slight echo with my microphone that is somewhat distracting to me. So if I ever sound like I'm struggling to finish a sentence, that's why.
What, is it like the speech jammer thing?
Yeah, but it's such a minor delay that it really shouldn't be an issue.
Maybe it's enough to be subconsciously annoying.
Well, it is. I don't know how to fix it.
Well, I probably have to fix it afterwards.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll just deal with it.
What's the... How is our total time? Do you know what that is?
We're up to about almost 50 minutes, I want to say. 25 minutes on the first half, and now we're up to 22, almost 23 on this one.
I told you we'd be able to talk about these three movies for an hour.
I mean, yeah.
I knew it. Don't underestimate the power. When I get going on something... Where do you want to keep going, or should I go? I don't want to do all the...
This movie is so hard to talk about because the plot is so disjointed that there's no through line. Like,
challenge accepted.
So okay, let's figure out what's the actual plot. I know that.
Okay, here's the plot.
And like a big race to get somewhere.
I will do the plot in 5 sentences.
Yeah, do it.
Mystery Inc. shows up and catches the Scarecrow, who is trying to spray everybody with fear gas. They all celebrate, but then in the course of doing that, they find, and also the Mystery Machine got blown up, they find a bunch of evil pumpkins in a thing that has a bunch of toxic waste in it. The pumpkins become alive and start chasing everyone and eating them. And then, let's see, is that 2 or 3?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Just keep
Bill Nye, he shows up. He gives them a magical technology mystery machine, but then, people are still getting eaten by pumpkins, so they have to run away from the pumpkins. So they're going, and also Daphne is like fangirling over Elvira the entire time. She's basically like the creepy obsessed fan. That's Daphne's characterization for this movie.
All right, and she ends up turning into Elvira at the end.
Yeah, they trade clothes for no reason halfway through. Her reasoning was that they'd recognize her being a famous person, so if they trade clothes, she'll live longer or something like that. There's a giant jack-o'-lantern. They're called jack-o'-lanterns, not jack-o'-lanterns, because we need a monster name. The sheriff shows up again, and he's like, "What are you kids doing?" And then he gets eaten by a pumpkin, and then he's like, "Ah!" And then they go and they have to catch up with Professor Jonathan Crane over here, Dr. Crane, and he's like, "We got to figure out what's going on with the pumpkins." So meanwhile, they're still going Mad Maxing down the road, and then she figures it out. The pumpkins are actually just robots. Everybody who's been eaten is alive, and they were drones the whole time. And then
fear gas. Like seriously, that was the setup. You know, anytime you have Scarecrow in a show, like the twist is always it was fear gas the whole time.
No,
they didn't
not
even
even
do that.
Scarecrow. Anytime in anything that the characters get hit with gas or powder or something like that, and then weird stuff starts happening, it's almost always it was a hallucination. That's always the twist. It doesn't happen. There's no fear gas. It's just straight up, they were robots. It was all an elaborate hoax. Also, the sheriff, turns out he was the villain all along. It turns out that throughout the 3 movies, the sheriff was actually a dude named Cutler Toe, who is disguised as a sheriff, who is trying to get revenge on Mystery Inc. because apparently they thwarted him in the past off screen before any of these 3 movies. They reveal this at the end of the movie, and then so the plot can be over.
Yeah, so there you
go.
It felt like an actual fever dream.
It's just nothing. Like, at least if there is a series of events. This is just basically they're on the road and things just kind of keep happening. Bill Nye is there. Elvira is there. Scarecrow is there.
Bill Nye.
Yeah, but he's there. It's the real Bill Nye. They got him to voice himself.
Well, I know it was the real Bill Nye, but I can't remember. Was like the hologram one in the truck? Was that like, or the Mystery Machine? I guess the Mystery Machine X is what it was called.
I don't know,
was the one
man.
that was in there like, was he like an AI copy of Bill Nye, or was he like
I don't
the actual
remember.
Bill Nye talking to them?
I can't remember if that was what it was.
I guess that means that matters literally.
I think it was the real Bill Nye, and then he left at some point because of trick-or-treaters, and then it was the AI Bill Nye.
Right, yeah.
Meanwhile, anyways, so they're on the road, and then it turns out the sheriff was the villain all along.
What a twist.
Yeah, anyways, so yeah, the sheriff was actually the villain for this whole trilogy, it turns out. That's why he made them give up mystery solving, because he was trying to get revenge.
Yeah, so...
This movie's only 80 minutes long, but somehow it feels longer.
So much longer. Oh my god. So yeah, that's probably the worst Scooby Doo movie. Actually,
No, I still think Return to Zombie Island is worse.
Oh yeah, I guess. I'm in competition between that one and Scoob, which I feel like Scoob... I don't know, should we just talk about Scoob, or do you want to like make an actual episode about that?
I don't know. We've basically filled out our time. So I mean, we could just stop and save the other movies for other episodes.
Here, how about a quick lightning round? We talk about the two we watched this year. What do you think?
Yeah, okay, sure. It doesn't even have to be a lightning round. We can just talk about them. Why not?
Oh yeah, Sword
and the Scoob.
What do you think, or do you want me to go first?
I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. You'll definitely have more to say about the other one because I never watched Courage.
Oh yeah.
So that movie was basically just a series of inside jokes that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I knew I was being told inside jokes, but I couldn't appreciate them.
I mean, there were more references than inside jokes, but
that's what references are.
What'd you think of Sword in the Scoob?
Okay, so it's better, but like, you know, I don't think it's good. It's just not terrible.
I enjoyed it. It actually had a cohesive plot, which was good.
Yeah, but why is that should not be a...
It's a hell of an improvement over the last one. It has an actual...
do you realize what we're saying here? This movie is better because there's actually a plot.
Yeah,
like,
and that's
movies should just have plot. Movies should just have plots.
It did have some funny twists. Like, I love that Velma, like, figured out who the guy was because of his abs. That was actually cool.
Oh, right. Yes. Also, it means that Velma is definitively straight now.
Or bisexual. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't care. I don't know why anyone cares.
Well, according to the guy on Twitter, she's only a lesbian.
No, that's only Mystery Incorporated one.
Which even that one doesn't.
Which doesn't make sense because he's like, oh shit, nope, too late. You brought it up. Here's the thing: in Mystery Incorporated, Shaggy and Velma have a love subplot for the first season. Eventually, they break up because Shaggy's not mature enough for a relationship and is more concerned with hanging out with Scooby, which in this case is analogous to just hanging out with your friends more than your date. And then they eventually break up and then reconcile later and continue being friends on mutual terms. The reason the relationship fails is because neither of them were ready for a relationship and Shaggy just wasn't fully committed to it. But then after the fact, they throw in some hinting because it's a cartoon from 2010. You couldn't have explicitly gay characters yet. So they throw in hinting that her and Marcy might have a thing for each other. And then in the alternate universe, it's a little bit more explicit. But it's like, okay, if you'd said that Velma was bisexual, I would have totally believed that because that's pretty clearly how the character was at least hinted to be written. But then the guy comes out and he's like, oh no, she's only gay. She's not even bisexual. She's only gay. The reason that she broke up with Shaggy was because she wasn't being comfortable being with a man. And it's like, that is not what you wrote. That is clearly not what you wrote.
He broke up with her and she was actually like upset about that.
Yes, I know.
Anyways,
it's like, dude, you could have just said she was bisexual, and I would have believed that because that's what it was.
That's obviously what.
That's what you were clearly going for. But to say that she's only gay is ridiculous because that's not what was written. It directly conflicts with the way that she was characterized. Anyways, that was a mini rant.
I wonder how that guy feels about her love of Conan the Barbarian's abs and Sword in the Scoob.
I don't know. I just don't understand why we keep suddenly making characters gay for no reason.
Well, I mean,
most of these characters don't even have sexualities. They just exist, and romance doesn't even factor into it.
I don't know. To be fair, people have been saying Velma's gay since the series came out.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. Eventually, everybody who writes for a franchise is people who are fans of it growing up. So really the only difference between fan fiction and official canon is an editor.
Yeah.
If you go on long enough, eventually everything that gets published is essentially officially published fan fiction.
Yeah. Anyways,
It's happened with comic books. It happens with movie franchises. If it goes on long enough, people who are fans will eventually become the writers. They start by watching Thundar the Barbarian, the actual Thundar the Barbarian cartoon, which I guess would be live action in this universe.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't
because it's still a cartoon.
Is it supposed to be? No, it is live action because she meets the actor. The actor ends up being the player in the plot.
Yeah, but it's animated exactly the same way as the actual Thundar cartoon. It's kind of usually when you have a cartoon in a cartoon, it's intentionally animated worse so that it's clear that it's not live action in air quotes.
Or maybe that's.
But in this case, it's just animated exactly how it always was. But now that's live action, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe it's like them representing what a low definition camera. Well, honestly, what it really is they're just using footage from an old cartoon. They didn't want to.
No, that wasn't footage.
That wasn't.
No, it was voiced by the guy of the voice actor in this movie.
Well, I know. I just thought they like redubbed actual footage from.
Nope,
Thundar.
it wasn't stock. That wasn't footage. That was new stuff.
Oh, okay.
It was designed to look like the old Thundar cartoon.
Well, there you go. But I also kind of liked the bromance that like Shaggy and Thundar's actor had. That was actually kind of funny. Like how they mutually like by pigging out their love of pigging out. Like they.
Yeah, but that scene is like 3 minutes long, and then like a few minutes later, they're like, "We gotta save him." He's like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." And he's like, "Well, you're supposed to save your friends." And then he has like one of those like sentimental montages, and it's just all the clips from the last 3 minutes, and it's like that's all they have.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Oh, he is my friend."
I don't know. I at least read that as being tongue in cheek, and I really appreciate it.
It might have been.
I thought it was really funny. Whether
it's hard to tell these days.
Funny. So,
well, it's kind of sometimes it's hard to tell when people are being tongue in cheek and when they're just bad at doing whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah. So
you can always claim you're being tongue in cheek later, but it's hard to tell when people are actually being tongue in cheek anymore.
Yeah, I guess more I think about it, I really did enjoy starting the Scoob. I'd probably give it like a solid like 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. I don't know. What would you give it? I'm gonna say 6 out of 10. It's objectively not great, but it was actually like it was funny. I had some jokes.
I don't know. The problem with a 10-point scale is that it's kind of the middle numbers are basically meaningless.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, especially when you're ranking things, like usually you know which one you like the best, and you know which one is the worst, and so it's like, okay, this one's the worst, this one's the best. But like, what's the difference between which one is number 5 and number 6? Like, once you get to the middle, what really is the difference between them? At that point, you're just finishing the scale.
I mean, you can have more than one thing that's 5.
I know, but I feel like there's a clear difference between number 1 and number 10. But once you get to start getting more to the middle, it becomes a lot more arbitrary because at that point you've already canceled out your obvious choices by assigning them either worst or best, and you're just kind of left with all the average stuff in the middle. And it's like, well, I have to give it a number. I guess this one's 5 and this one's 6, and it's like, well, those you could have just switched those. It wouldn't change anything.
I always take it as 5 and below means bad, 6 and above means good, and then the closer you are to the end of the scale, the better or worse it is. I don't know.
Well, yeah, sure that's what it is, but like even if you look at top 10 lists, when people get to the middle, their explanations start getting less specific. Like they just kind of explain it, and then they're like, "This is a 5." They're like, "This movie was about this. It gets a 5," and it's like, wait, what? I don't feel like you actually explained why it gets a 5. I think you just gave it a 5.
Okay, well that's a topic for another day. Let's talk about the last Scooby Doo movie, the most recent one. Do you want to introduce it, or should I?
You introduce it. You
right.
actually enjoyed it more.
I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. It's the Scooby Doo and Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover. I think they called it Straight Out of Nowhere. I'm trying to.
Yeah, they called it Straight Out of Nowhere. Scooby Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah,
which I guess right there shows you that it's not actually a Scooby Doo movie. It's purely a crossover.
Nope.
It feels more like Scooby Doo characters showing up in an extra long episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog, which is why I absolutely loved it. That's one of my favorite.
And why I was confused for a lot of it.
Yeah, because you
actually not even confused. It's just I didn't have any emotional attachment to these characters.
Yeah, that's that's fair. If you don't have any, like, I mean, I feel like a good crossover probably should, like, establish the characters a little bit so that even people that are new to it can appreciate it. But yeah, basically, if you didn't watch Courage, you're probably not going to get much out of this show because it really just assumes that you're very familiar with it. But
is it canon? Is it canon to the Courage show though?
Probably just as canon as any other episode. I mean, Courage didn't really.
I know, but this episode actually explains why weird stuff happens all the time.
There's that meteor underground. I'm gonna say no because there was an episode where they like. I think one of the very first episodes of this series was like Courage had to fight like an army of mutant eggplants that lived.
I thought the first episode was he fought a chicken.
It was one of the first. It was a very early episode. He fights like an army of mutant eggplants that live underground.
Oh.
Under their ranch. I think they're eggplant. Maybe I'm mixing two episodes. It might have been something else when he was under. Anyways, there was an episode where he was underground in the area where they show that the meteor is supposedly supposed to be, and it obviously wasn't there. So I'm going to say this is just as canon as any other episode because Courage doesn't really have an overarching canon. Every episode just kind of does the reset thing. There's a few consistencies, like his backstory is always consistent. He was always abandoned as a puppy because his parents got put on a rocket and blasted into space. You're not reacting to that. So
I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting.
That's consistent. I mean, they don't mention it in every episode, but it's assumed. But I mean, some of the episodes end like the one where it ends with Muriel and Eustace being puppets. Which just coincidentally ended up being the last episode of this series, so a lot of people read that as being how the series actually ends. But I mean, they, like you said, they ended a lot of episodes in other ways that were just reset.
Well, no, see, now Straight Out of Nowhere exists, which means that is no longer the last thing that happens in Courage Place.
Yeah, I guess so. So
happy ending. Eustace doesn't get his money, and they all dance because of the dancing meteor thing.
Yeah, what about the nowhere rap?
The meteor... Oh, gosh, that just comes out of nowhere.
Happened?
I forgot about it until you mentioned it, and now it's all come flooding back. It has... Why is it in there?
I don't know.
Halfway through the movie, he gets a bunch of treasure, and then he starts rapping about it, and this is Eustace.
I feel like it was more in character for Scooby Doo, since that's had, like, musical numbers in the past. Courage never did musical numbers, as far as I know.
I don't know.
Anyways, I loved that movie.
Yeah, so...
Because I'm a simp for Courage.
Don't say that word.
Sorry.
I'm tired of people inventing words and then acting like they're things.
I mean, that's kind of how language works.
I know that's how language works, but they keep doing it on purpose. It's not supposed to happen on purpose. They just keep inventing new terms that just mean the same thing. Things that it's like they're inventing redundant terms that are stupid because it's like we already had words for this sort of thing, but now you're creating dumber sounding words.
All right, well, I think we're officially over the 1 hour mark. We should probably go ahead and...
I mean, we don't have to stop at 1 hour. It's just a guideline.
But I'm also running out of things to say on this topic, so maybe it's a good place to go ahead and wrap up.
Okay, you don't want to give a full in-depth review of a Straight Out of Nowhere Scooby Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog?
There isn't much more to say. I don't know.
I mean, there could be. I could, but
I could go on.
I don't know if I want to.
Maybe we'll save it for another day.
Maybe.
It's good. It's got a plot, unlike Halloween Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
But
well, if we're coming to the end, this has been. I'm Mingus, by the way. I don't know if I said it in this episode at any point.
You said so. I mean, you did your weird narration thing at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that was a reference
to.
You'll understand that reference eventually.
I will.
Yes.
I mean,
one day.
I feel like it's a reference to a lot of things.
No, it's a reference to one very specific thing.
All right. Well, we can talk about that.
Look here. No, we won't talk about it. I'm not going to tell you. I know for a fact you will inevitably discover it. There are a lot of things that I reference that are things that I know you're going to read, watch, or do at some point. So I know eventually you will find out what that is.
I mean, I've seen that bit done in other things too.
I don't know if you have.
I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I'm Futterman.
Yeah, you can find nobody. We don't have any letters yet because as of this, we're building up a backlog, you see. So we haven't, as far from our perspective, none of this has happened yet.
Well, I mean, none of our episodes have been made public yet, but
At the time of this recording.
yes, but we do have an email that we will put in the description.
We do?
Yeah, don't we? For the letters.
Oh, you meant our email address. I'm like, how could somebody send us an email already?
What? No, I said we have an email address. I'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
So you can send us fan letters or tell us to get real jobs, whatever you want to do.
We have real jobs. This is just for fun.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Real placeholder podcast official at gmail.com.
I'll put it in the description.
And to anyone else who's also called the placeholder podcast, well, I mean, you know what? You do you, but we have brackets.
I'm pretty sure they've been inactive for at least a number of years. So.
Well, we have brackets, so Anyways, okay. If that's what we're doing, I can start doing this now.
That sounds very choppy.
Does it? I don't know. We'll figure out a better way to do this later.
Wait. I got this. What is it?
What am I doing?
You just put a link in the Discord.
What?
Never mind.
Okay, fine. Hold on. No, wait. No, that's not our outro. Say it. Say the real outro.
Do we have a real outro?
Yeah.
I was not told.
It's over.
Bye.